So the book cover is intriguing, a true story of corruption, survival, and comeback. And so let me just let me tell you what I've read and what I've done to do a little bit of homework. Was I went back through and I saw where you were indicted. Was it 2015 by the state of Alabama?
7 Alabama, 8 federal.
Oh, 2007 and 2008. Okay.
No. I thought you were talking about count. No, it's 2015, 2016. 2015
and 2016. So initially, you were charged by the state, and were you indicted, or were you just arrested and given a DC case number?
No, I was indicted.
And
by the grand jury.
And so
in Grove Hill in Clark County.
And your bit, I guess the big reveal is this is all on the allegations of your business partner, who was a circuit judge at that time.
Right.
And you guys went into, y'all bought, was it a disused nursing home that y'all bought and turned into a hospice?
Hospice? No, it was a hospice. It was ground up hospice. I'd worked for a hospice before, and I started, and he brought in $25,000. I brought in $25,000, and we started from the ground up. One patient.
And so, and this was over a dispute of not a whole lot of money, right? Wasn't it less than $10,000?
No, total. Yeah, it was total. The federal would have been around $12,000, which, if you do it the way that I guess the jurors and all looked at it, 50-50, heck, it would have been less than $6,000. I mean, seriously.
Right.
But the charges was right at $12,000.
Okay, so the state charges get dropped, and is it that
after the federal jury came back and said I was innocent, about 2 months after that, then actually it was August, so that was July, so it's about a month, about 5 weeks, 6 weeks later, the state of Alabama dropped the charges from the state.
So, tell me about your detention in a foreign land.
So what happened is I was traveling and I was coming back, and I didn't have a relationship at all with my ex-husband because he was in on all of it. But he had texted me and asked me when I was coming back in the country, and my dumbass said, told him when my flight was. It was real weird because he had never even texted or even asked me anything like that. Like he said, "Oh, I'll let you get our little boy, sooner, when you get back, whatever." But that wasn't it. They were planning on detaining me. So whenever I landed at LAX, they had pinged my passport. So when I came back through, they detained me as soon as they scanned my passport. I had a warrant out for my arrest.
And so you were detained in Los Angeles?
LAX. LAX.
And so how long were you there?
It was probably, I'm not sure how many hours it was. I was probably detained for 10 or 12 hours. But I was sick. I had 105 temperature. I'd gotten something in Fiji. And so that's the only reason why they let me go is because they were fixing to take me out there by an ambulance. So they just came back and they said, "Look, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna give you your passport back." Of course, by then I'd missed all my flights and all that. But I overheard them saying that if they had to take me out by ambulance, it was like $10,000 for them to have to transport me out of LAX by ambulance.
All day
so literally,
long.
I was that sick. Yeah, that sick. And that's the only reason why. And the only reason why I knew that too is what happened is because I did have you ever heard of the Freedom of Information Act? I put a request in because I wanted to know who dinged it. But it came back Clark County. So.
And so was the sheriff of Clark County, who's now, making big rocks into little rocks. Was he involved in this? Ray Morris?
Absolutely, yeah. He's not in jail. He got indicted. He pled guilty. He told on a lot of people is what I've been told, but he pled guilty to 2 counts, and he's on probation for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And they tried to they've tried to put you in federal prison over 10 grand in petty cash in a dispute with a business partner.
That was my company. I didn't even just work there. A lot of people, when they say, "Oh, you're the secretary, you're stealing from the owner," I owned the thing. Which in Alabama, supposedly there's a law that you can't steal from yourself. But hell, I think that was in any state. But they broke all the rules on that one.
And so, since you have overcome all of this, what became of the business? Did it become defunct?
Before I even got to court, to trial, the judge that worked with Gaines, another circuit judge, gave him 100% of the company, said it wasn't worth anything, and he sold it before I even went to court. He sold the company, kept the money before I even went to court.
So so there was some kind of declaratory judgment saying that you somehow forfeited all of your interests.
Oh, I didn't forfeit it. I went to court, and they were going to do a evaluation hearing, and my attorneys came down to Clark County, which I couldn't win anything in Clark County. Hell, he was the judge. But they tried to get them to issue a stay because I was under federal and state charges, and I could have been, indicted. I could have said a lot of things up on the stand that could have hurt my case. So they tried to get me a stay issued, and the judge denied the stay. So he overruled. He did not listen to the evaluation as far as what the company owned or what it was worth. He gave 100% of it to Gaines before that happened, before the court ever happened, and Gaines turned around and sold it. I never saw it again.
So if somebody says to you that President Trump is the first person to ever be subjected to lawfare, how hard do you laugh?
Just ask it again.
When you hear that Donald Trump was the first person subjected to lawfare in this country, how hard do you laugh?
Oh my God! And I that kind of helped my feelings a lot when that happened, because I'm like, hell, if they did it to Donald Trump, no wonder they could do it to me, because I was a single mother of 3 kids to pee on. You know what I'm saying? So, it happens, and I think it happens more than we think it happens.
Well, I know that it happens all the time, and so when somebody has the
people
guts,
read this book is absolutely
when somebody has the guts to write a book about people like this. You're one of these head on the swivel kind of people. So I'll tell you a funny story. I was standing at the urinal in the Floribama one night about 20 years ago, and somebody hit me with a bottle in the back of the head and almost knocked me out. Okay. Now I have no idea who the hell it was, but I quit going to public places like that. I'm out of the Floribama by 9 o'clock. I can't remember half of my divorce clients, much less their husbands who hate my guts or wives or whoever.
Right. Exactly.
So just in my regular practice, there are people who don't like me, but because of this podcast, people like Judge McCorkindale and all that, and Ray Norris and these type of people whose names have been in my mouth for several years. You never really know who the message is from. So I try not to put myself in positions where I don't have 3 people around me that I know at all times when I'm in a place like that.
That is so true. That is so true.
So anyway, if you're having fun down at the beach, I encourage you to, you're in Orange Beach, go have fun, but be out of, be home by 8 o'clock.
Now, so that's the last. So that kind of, so you think it was a good idea to write or a bad idea to write?
Oh, I think it's a great idea, and I think there are a lot of people like me and Brant and Mr. Mosley here who know what kind of guts it takes. and I'll just tell you, another book that you should read is Shadow Government Southern Style by Tommy Gallion. And in the foreword, he said, "My wet dream is for any one of these people to sue me so I can get them under oath." Okay,
that is exactly what somebody told me. Somebody told me they said, "Why hasn't Gaines done anything?" And they said, "Are you kidding? Because we get to ask for shit. We have to get to ask for, what am I trying to say?
Discovery,
yeah.
Right.
So maybe me and you talking that night. Yeah, it's like he has sense enough to know that, because he knows he didn't pay anybody. So that's another thing. He took the money. He took the condo that we owned together. He forged my name and sold our condo and kept the money. And then he paid no one. He paid none of the debts that we had. Like as small as the gas company, as big as Lamar Advertising, like we did our billboards with. Like he paid no one, so he can't literally do anything to me, because if he did, it would be egg on his face anyway, which it already is. It's been out since February the 2nd, and I would say, and I know a lot of people are not going to come to me and say how horrible it was, but I've had 98% like wonderful feedback, absolutely wonderful feedback.
Well, we want to do what we can so that people find out about your book, and
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. And so Mr. Mosley has joined us. Mr. Mosley, do you have any questions for Ms. McNair?
Oh, no, ma'am. Yeah, we ran into the same thing when I was Alabama political reporter. We were investigating Mike Hubbard. Mike Hubbard would say, everything's lies, and I'm going to sue. And we were like, please sue us. These depositions will be like 3 or 4 days. And yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be like, yeah, the prosecution, prosecutor's office, at that time, the Alabama Attorney General Special Prosecutions Unit, we'd have given every deposition to them. Heck, we'd have probably got questions from them on what to ask.
Right.
Well, and to
when you don't sue, a lot of times it's because you're protecting. Yeah, you really don't want the facts of this to come out.
Well, and on the other side of this, I think something instructive here is that what gets into the ears of the grand jury is controlled by the district attorney, who is obviously somehow, there's no way he didn't get some of this on his shoes, you being indicted on what seems to me to be just, and I would say this in court, pure bullshit.
Well, and, I put in the book about the district attorney, and he did recuse himself because he and my older 2 children are related, but it was not on the grand docket. It wasn't on the grand jury docket. So in other words, Gaines was the judge in that courthouse. Gaines slipped it in. So no one even knew it was there until the grand jury was up there, and he just slipped it in, and it came up, and they had enough evidence to whatever indict me. So I don't think that there was much his involvement, and I don't know what happened that day, and that's been kind of sketchy this whole entire time on what happened, just the state indictment. But I do know he recused himself.
Well, you have a nice day at the beach. We certainly appreciate your time, and we're gonna get on with the hog killing here.
I sure do appreciate y'all calling.
Yes, ma'am. You have a good day. Thank you, Tanya. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, that was a treat. And so let's get on into the podcast, Brandon. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be provided are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Still. You found the Heart of Dixie podcast. Mr. Mosley here is a reporter and the content manager at the Alabama Gazette. How are you, Mr. Mosley?
Doing fine, Harry. How are you?
Well, it's Saturday and I'm doing a podcast, so obviously the week was pretty hectic. So topics of discussion: Alabama legislature and bad bills. The State of the Union. I thought we would continue with Doge, egg prices, international security, Department of Education, and tariffs. Law enforcement news: O.J. French Jr. shooting death is now live on YouTube. There was a JFK document dump indicating the CIA, the mob, Israel, and the Cubans had some hand in all this. And then we're going to do rapid fire, where we talk about the mayor's race and cast of characters and some lawfare that was alleged to have gone on with Stephen Nodine. So, governor signs bill to increase penalties for impersonating a police officer. That is done. Here locally, a Fairhope attorney called for a Baldwin County judge to recuse himself from a property lien case because of an alleged friendship with other lawyers involved in the litigation. After the hearing Wednesday, the judge would not step down. Mr. Mosley, would this surprise you if this was last week, week before last, 2 years ago, 20 years ago? When's the last time you heard of a judge recusing in Baldwin County? I've asked two of them
It
to
doesn't
recuse
happen
them.
real often. They tend to like, hey, motions to recuse normally in Baldwin County. Yeah, it doesn't happen much.
No. Okay, so Mothers Over Bullying went to the Baldwin County Board of Education meeting, and things did not go well. And I will leave this here. Here's the link. You can go watch it, the interaction, and I can just tell you things are getting a little loud around here related to
I mean, when I was in school, kids bullied kids, and we settled it in the playground with our fists.
yeah, well, they're saying
that was kind of a big kid, so I sort of was happy with that.
Well, they're saying that the school is actually bullying the students. so anyway, yeah, a little bit of a different story. So this is a story that you wrote, and you were at this the tea room in Mountain Brook when this Alabama legislative watchdog spoke. And so can you kind of sum it up for us?
Ann Eubank has been around for years, going all the way back to 2009, 2010, with the Tea Party. And then she led the efforts against Common Core. And we were considering changing how we teach math and other subjects, and that there was a better way to do it. And of course, we found out that there really wasn't a better way to do it. She was opposing that. And today she is the director of the Alabama Legislative Watchdogs, which is a conservative group that that goes to Montgomery and they comment on bills for and against. And she was the speaker at Mountain Brook Thursday night, a meeting of the Gathering. It's like a conservative, far right.
And wasn't she wasn't she railing against public-private partnerships with the government giving money to?
That was the theme, is public-private partnerships, government deciding that this company is good, so we're going to create a partnership. And a lot of times we create little companies where the favored company is a part owner along with the state, and state dollars are spent. They try to get local dollars in here too, and they'll have what they call stakeholders. And we're trying, we're using this for economic development purposes and workforce development. And Ann was real critical of. I mean, she called it fascism. That might be a little bit too far. But, that's when government and business, are functioning as one. And we have that in certain pockets in Alabama, and it seemed to be more of a common thing now at state level than it used to be.
All right. So doesn't mean she, just because she's part of this group doesn't mean she's wrong. And, there was a prohibition against this type of thing up until they rewrote the Constitution behind closed doors in 2022. The Constitution 1901 has 3 provisions, Section 93, 94, and 95, that basically says the state of Alabama cannot lend its credit to individuals, private corporations, and the third one's kind of a catch-all, railroads, other, non-governmental entities, that kind of thing. And it appears,
yet they do.
And we've been doing it for a long time. So, So one of the things that I would say, and we're going to get to some public-private partnerships here in a minute, but, typically when they go to issue the bonds, they will file a friendly lawsuit and say, hey, we're issuing these bonds. We'd like for you to enter an order that we can show to the people that are going to buy the bond, saying that you've looked at it, Judge, and this is a legal purpose and all this is cool. And I would be really surprised if, any of these projects being done, and especially if debt's being issued by a governmental entity, that type of thing didn't happen. And I'd be I need to educate myself a little more. I haven't seen one since the change in the law, but she's right. Certainly about this. Now I don't know about her other issues, but
last year they passed what they call innovation districts, where it's a government-private partnership with regulatory authority over a geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly how this would work, but the original legislation gave it eminent domain. And like Ann pointed out at the meeting, the only reason they didn't pass it giving these innovation districts eminent domain over private property owners within their boundaries is Senator Bobby Singleton, the Democrat, thought that was going too far.
Well, apparently these Republicans don't know what being a Republican's all about, and public-private partnerships are the furthest thing from anything that, the legislature of Republicans in the legislature in the 2000s would have done. Okay, so PCI Federal, the 8A federal government contracting enterprise owned by the Porch Creek Indians, is growing. We're excited to announce the opening of our new office in Reston, Virginia, marking a significant step in our commitment to supporting the federal government, including the Department of Defense. The Porch Creek Indians. Talk about choosing winners and losers in this world. Another public-private partnership. So apparently the Baldwin County Commission created the Baldwin County Solid Waste Disposal Authority, and they have a brand new $25 million, 26,000 square foot state-of-the-art materials recovery facility and renewable natural gas plant. So, and do you see right down here it says Waste Recycling Adventure Center? So I guess there's some kind of interpretive museum up front, or some kind of place we take the
kind of thing that
kids.
Sounds like a good idea when you do it. You're in a committee. Yeah, I don't know how many times if I'm a parent, I'm taking my kids, we're going to the wastewater, recycling adventure center today. Yeah, I was like, ooh, yeah, Dad. Not really excited about that. But.
Yes, everything must have an educational component to it for us to be able to sell this bullshit to the public. Okay, so speaking of, Elliott not on board with Robin Hood approach to Baldwin County tax distribution as county separation talks increase. State Senator Chrissy Elliott has filed 2 bills requiring a countywide penny tax to be split between all school systems in Baldwin County. And, of course, this has to do with his district, where Orange Beach has created their own school district and Gulf Shores has created their own school district. And they're trying to see who can build the biggest mansion of a school, right?
I don't understand our fascination with building palatial school buildings. I mean, to me, as long as it's air-conditioned, heated, and has running water, I really don't object to Quonset huts being the school buildings. I mean, it shouldn't take an expensive building. I would rather spend more money on teachers and instruction than on, politicians, monumental palaces, and they all stick their little names on the door that, hey, this was done under my tenure. And it's like, American education as a whole, we spend more money than any other country, and we get some of the worst results.
Brandon, the Baldwin County school system has been building a school continuously since 1990, okay? This is a continuous construction project. Continuous. I can't think of a time when there wasn't
And
a school under construction or being renovated.
Living building these buildings. It's government make work projects.
And so now it all comes.
If you're in the Friends and you get the architect,
okay, but this
you
is
get
all
the architecture or the building contract.
But this is the knife fight.
It's a good life.
This is the knife fight over the penny tax and how it gets distributed. And there was a big lawsuit about it when Orange Beach broke off and they had to give money back and so forth and so on. But thinking Chris Elliott's going to solve a damn thing is hilarious to me. And, you know, just because it mainly affects Baldwin County, trust me, you don't want them chopping these pennies up and giving it to one of these authorities that we have no idea what they're doing. Dude should be telling you all you need to know about that. So anyway, the city of Fairhope, the Alabama State Library Board on Thursday voted to cut Fairhope's public libraries $42,000 in state funding because it allegedly didn't comply with the new library code about dirty library books and that kind of stuff. And so I saw on Facebook that there's a Friends of the Library group, and they're raising money to try to come up with a shortfall. But here we go again, a bunch of public service servants in the middle of, you know, we're on the Titanic and we're fighting over the lounge chairs. is how I look at this whole debate over library books.
The LGBTQ plus minus whatever they want to call themselves community got it in their bright minds. You know, we let them have gay marriage, and we think we were kind of good with that. What consenting adults do in the privacy of their own bedroom, most of us really don't care about. But they decided to print books that promote the LGBTQ plus minus lifestyle to as young a kids as possible. So, I mean, I have literally seen books, you know, with our instruction manuals written into for like oral sex. I don't know what two second graders would do with each other's, you know, penis, but I don't really want my kid bringing home a cartoon picture of some kid's penis. And it's ignited a firestorm here in Alabama where we want the trashy books out of the children's section. And libraries like Fairhope that won't comply with that, the library service, which is headed by the Republican Party chairman, John Wall, they're determined that, you know, you will comply with the terms. They fired Nancy Pack, who ran the library system for years, Thursday, at this same meeting where they voted to yank this $42K in support from Fairhope because they won't move the trashy books off of the shelf. Now, to me, you get into a dangerous slope on which books are supposed to be on the shelf and which books aren't. But the ones that I have seen, I probably would burn. And I'm as big a First Amendment guy as there is. It's like, yeah, this doesn't need to be in the children's section.
Okay. Well,
an adult who's interested in LGBTQ transitioning himself doesn't need it written into second grade level.
Okay. Well, when we're in a position where we're going to get rid of the federal Department of Education because we have local departments of education that are supposed to be handling things at the local level, and we have local library boards that are appointed by their city councils that decide what's going to be in the library. I get it, Brandon. There's, you know, your speed limit's got to be 70 miles an hour if you want federal funding for your highways. I understand that there's always a carrot and a stick. I just think it's very unfortunate that these people are caught in the middle of this when they're not the ones making the decision. Their board is. You know, I'm the librarian. My board made these decisions, and you know, I'm caught in the middle. And anyway, that's how I feel about it. I mean, you know, just
the
like
state library board has only so much leverage, and one of it is they control the money that they send to the local library. In this case, they decided Fairhope wasn't in compliance. We're cutting your $42,000.
But in Alabama, to think that that's something that John Wall he would be beating his drum about that with all the problems that we have. Seems a little distracting to me. Okay, so Katie Britt back shutting down the Department of Education. It caters to far-left bureaucrats. Shit. No argument here. You got an argument with that, Brandon?
I mean, I'm all for educating kids. If the U.S. Department of Education employed a bunch of teachers that were out there teaching reading, writing, and math to kids, I would be for them keeping their jobs. But we spend billions on this thing, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of employees, at least until this week, and they never teach the first lesson in a classroom. It's a government make jobs program that, I mean, other than writing stupid regs like, the Biden administration tried to force all the local school boards into redesigning their bathrooms so that every gender in the world can go in the bathroom of their choice and just wander around in there, boys in the girls' room, girls in the boys' room, whatever. I don't think this thing ever worked. And when it started trying to cost us money and trying to, enforce weird standards like, dudes competing in girls swimming and going in the girls' locker room. Yeah, I'm a hard. I mean, I don't agree with everything Trump's doing. Oh yeah, I'm with Katie Britt and Trump on this one. That puppy needs to go.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a theory that the Democrats throughout the years, and maybe the Republicans too, instead of creating a WPA program where we actually go do public improvements for the public good, instead we just created the Department of Education where we could hire 30,000 people to work there. Do you see the economic value?
Yeah, I mean, if the U.S. Department of Education was out there in the field educating kids, and this, there were kids learning stuff from the U.S. Department of Education, I might come to their defense here. But they've never done that. I mean, they had these stupid No Child Left Behind standards that they were trying to ram down everybody's throats when George W. Bush was in there. Then Obama got in there, and he was trying to ram down Common Core on the school systems, and that hasn't worked at all anywhere it's been tried. And then we had Biden, who for some reason wants to transition children to another gender, and he was using the U.S. Department of Education for that. It's like, guys, this isn't working for anybody, and I feel sorry for the little stooges that occupied a cubicle at the vast federal office building that did all this. But there's nothing they do have done in their history since they were created in 1979 that benefited a single child. Congress, if it wants to send money for like special ed to the states and the local school boards, they can cut a check. Heck, Brandon and Harry, you could send Brandon and Harry to Washington, D.C., and in one day a week or maybe one day a month, we could cut the checks to send to all the school systems around the country based on need or per capita, however Congress wants to do it, and I don't need the 30,000 employees to help out.
Yeah, if we're going to collect tax money and redistribute it, and of course, in Alabama we spend 50 cents of every dollar on education, so yeah, might be a little hole.
Every single dollar of corporate and state income tax the state collects goes to the school systems,
okay.
Or the State Department of Education.
Well, let's talk about pissing money away, Brandon. Let's talk about Hallmark Farms. The Jefferson County Commission unanimously approved the sale of Hallmark Farms property in Warrior to the Agriculture Exhibition Center Corporation, or AECC. The organization was formed by the state legislature and will oversee the development of the new agriculture center plan for the area. County purchased the property in 2019 in a joint effort with the city of Warrior. The Hallmark Farm property in North Jefferson County is right on I-65 near Warrior, and the site is, anyway, tell me more about it, Brandon.
In 1948, back when, about 3/4 of the people in Alabama actually lived on a farm, the state built and opened up Garrett Coliseum for livestock shows and rodeos and, horse shows and all that kind of stuff, where the farms could, farm families could send the kids and their show pigs and show lambs and show calves to Garrett for the Alabama National Fair. Much like many, of the things the state is involved in, they funded it for, over 50 years and never improved it. And eventually the farm community, which is a lot smaller than it was in 1948, but still politically potent, they decided they needed a newer facility, and so they went to the legislature and got funding for a new facility. This would have been built in Clanton, except the property they had an option on next to I-65. They had a new city election in Clanton, and that new mayor guy wants to use that site for a goofy, retail shopping. Like, this is 1980. Nobody does retail shopping anymore. We all buy our stuff from Amazon.
Yeah, they haven't got the memo yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's some old people that still go down there and buy their clothes off the rack from some, store. But unless you're selling eggs or vegetables or meat, and even there, a lot of it's going online, all that's going to be online in 20 years. But so, because that deal fell apart in Clanton, they had to look for a new location. And the Hallmark family, who, I think they were strip miners, they built an elaborate palatial estate. It's like a little farm. It's not little. I mean, it's a nice looking landscaped, multi-hundred acre farm that's right off of I-65, just across from a Warrior. They got 20 years ago, when the Hallmarks were still alive, they had a train they could ride around the property on.
Okay,
the train is gone, but the barns and the mansion and all that is still there. And Jefferson County bought it for $7.5 million off of the estate, and now they're turning around and selling it to this new public-private partnership between the Alabama Farmers Federation and the state. This will be the new agribition deal. Garrett's already been sold to the city of Montgomery. I don't know what the city of Montgomery is going to do with that, but good luck once the farms show moves to Warrior. But $13 million got spent on Friday, and I think $100 million is going to spent on this or more by the time it gets built.
Yeah.
Again, it's public dollars and private dollars getting together to, do what they want to do.
Yep.
And I'm sure bonds will be issued.
Okay. So Myrick's announces her intent to run in District 12 special election. Who's the odds-on favorite?
Myrick says she's running. I don't know. The governor has called this election in 12. There's 2 districts in Coleman County that has lost their legislator. Randall Shedd, who's been around forever and a day, used to be the mayor of Fairview, has been in the legislature. He has taken a job working for Garland Gudger, so that district became available. I think District 12 is the one that came available Sunday when Corey Harbison decided he wanted to spend more time with his kids and was going to no longer work for in the legislature, so quit. I kind of think that probably means Corey is going to take some government job where he can't lobby and be in the legislature at the same time, but he hasn't done that yet, so I don't want to assume the worst. But, I'm going to spend more time with my kids. I mean, Being in the Alabama legislature, they only have 30 legislative days a year, and there's no requirement you actually attend. And Mr. Harbison's missed a bunch of meetings. So if Cindy Myrex or whoever gets it, it's probably an upgrade over Harbison.
Okay, so Terry
Shed actually was pretty cool.
So Terry LaPointe is challenging Mike Rogers. That seems foolhardy to me. Mr. Rogers has been in the legislature, in the Congress for how long?
Since his election in 2002.
And
I think this will be term number 13. I've got it confirmed from the Rogers people. Congressman Rogers is running for re-election.
I thought he would be. Okay. So the Alabama Senator introduces bill to ban intoxicating hemp products, and you're telling me that died in committee on Thursday?
On Wednesday in the Health Committee, the bill to ban Delta-8 and other psychoactive cannabinoids in food, pills, smokable format, gummies, tinctures, oils, whatever. We were going to ban all that. That got voted down in the Health Committee because there's a whole bunch of hemp producers in the state that that's basically what their business is harvesting the flowers so that you can make CBD from it. And that somebody figured out you can distill that CBD and pull Delta-8, Delta-10, Delta-9, though Delta-9 technically is illegal, I think, out of the CBD and then sell that product as cigars or whatever. And, there are people open businesses all over the state to sell this stuff. So if we ban it, a whole bunch of small businessmen, like every third gas station is selling this crap on the shelves. I think they need regulation, but maybe a ban was going over the top.
All right. So, there's still redo medical cannabis license. That hadn't been sorted yet. Governor launches.
Now that did clear committee on Wednesday.
Oh, interesting. So back to blue civil
the Senate
liability.
Cleared that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the on the cannabis deal, the bill that would just completely change over how we're doing those licenses, it cleared committee. I'm told all the stakeholders have to come to an agreement or it's not going to be on the Senate floor, but that's only what I'm being told off the record.
Okay, so back to blue civil liability protections. Is that out of committee?
That has passed the House, is waiting action in the Senate.
Okay. And this law right here is the reason that I'm doing this podcast today, so that our legislators will know that this is wildly foolish. And, I've read the exceptions to it, and I called the sponsor to see if they could give me a scenario where this bill actually does anything. It claims to do a bunch of stuff, but it says unless they do X, Y, or Z. Well, X, Y, or Z are Bivens actions, 1983 actions, or they acted recklessly and outside the scope of their job. So I don't see what this back to blue bill protection. I need to talk to somebody who can explain to me the mechanics of what it's going to do. Law
enforcement voters think really good about the legislature and the governor.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm extremely worried about it because I don't really understand the mechanics of it. But after I read it and pontificated upon it, I'm really trying to think of a scenario where it would do anything. Okay, so law.
I don't think we know what. I don't think we're going to know what it does or what it doesn't do until some defense attorney or an officer who's been accused of acting improperly uses it to try to avoid prosecution or a civil suit, and it goes to the Alabama Supreme Court, and then the Alabama Supreme Court will define what this thing means. And then, between you and me, that's liable to go to federal court, and the U.S. Supreme Court can accept or reject what the Alabama Supreme Court decides.
Okay, so
again, this is an appellate lawyer's, a dream.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah. Okay, so law enforcement dependent scholarships did that pass?
Yes. It has not gone to the governor yet, but it cleared the House, and I think it's a guarantee that's passing the Senate. That's bipartisan. There's no opposition at all.
And the Officer Impersonation Act, I think she signed that already. I got the Inner City Gun Violence
That's already
Act.
signed into law. Now, there's one little deal. I mean, if Brandon and Harry put blue lights on our car and we start pulling people over, yeah, whatever we're doing there is crazy and he should go to jail. But now, written into that is a little provision that we sort of glossed over, and that is if a town or municipality hires a law enforcement officer who is not APO certified, that is now illegal.
Right. Impersonating a police officer.
I mean, most towns already hired APO certified people, but if you're your cousin Bubba, who you think would make a good police officer, and just give him the squad car and the gun, which a few towns do, yeah, that this firmly makes that illegal.
Okay, so Glock switch ban.
It passed.
It's passed.
It's signed into law.
Okay, so
yes.
Here's your article from February 7th. House Committee advances police officer immunity bill, and we kind of beat that up. Glock switch is done, and that was Barfoot and Ensler.
Ensler. It was Democrats and Republicans working across the aisle together.
So then there's the duty to inform. That got nixed. Doesn't look like there's going to be a penalty for that this year. And then I thought we'd talk a little bit about, we talked about the expansion of the empire that we have in mind at the federal level, and the Doge report. Here we have our new FBI director and our so anyway, we got all these tariffs going on, and this came across my news feed today. Somewhere around 15% of all shrimp eating in the U.S. are actually caught here domestically, meaning 85% of the rest of the supply is coming in from foreign countries. Now, doesn't it seem like with all the things that we're doing...
Yeah, that's why I can go to an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet and eat all the shrimp I want for like $11.
Shit. But, I mean, if we could really help some people out, I mean, if Bubba Gump... It's kind of like when the hurricane took out the rest of the fleet, and we know what happened fictionally there. So if we did away with 85% of the product, the 15% that's being caught here would be worth way more, right? I mean, this is just like instructive of
and then shrimp would become a delicacy like lobster.
Okay, I'm good with it. I got a shrimp net, man. I ain't buying that mess at the grocery store. I'm shrimping. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the mayoral election down here in Mobile. Paul Prine launches unconventional mayor campaign. Former police chief rallies supporters, addresses residency concerns, and pursues a lawsuit against the city he seeks to run as mayor. I'd say that's pretty unconventional when you're the...
At this point, who is not running for mayor in Mobile?
Well, Mr. Nodine is. The shocking truth is I've been the only person in Baldwin County ever charged. We're talking about lawfare with Tanya previously. Ever charged with filling out an indigent form incorrectly. Thank you to Pascal Bruin for explaining a wrongful conviction. But he's still guilty. It was part of the plea deal.
Well, they can't convict him on murder, so they made up something to convict him of, so he can say he's a felon.
There you go. And of course, there's so anyway. I mean, if we had to interview somebody, Tanya seems to be a credible person that something horrible happened to, and hopefully everybody will go out and buy her book. It is on Amazon. So, did I tell you about Luther Upton? I think he's part owner of 101.1. I hope I'm right about that. It's the Power Pig out of Evergreen. And I met Luther when I was the county administrator up there working for the Conecuh County Commission. And I used to do the radio show with him every Friday morning and tell him what was going on at the county. So anyway, recently with the goings on with the Mabel Amos Trust and some other things happening in Evergreen, I had a reason to go by and see Luther at the radio station. And when I did, he said, do you like to read? And I said, sure do. And he said, do you know anything about history around here? And I said, well, it's all my family history. He said, really? Going back how far? And I said, Spanish times, Spain #1, that kind of thing. And he said, well, would you mind proofing this manuscript for me? So I can tell you exactly what Mary Alice's Roses is about because I proofed it before it was published. It's on Amazon. It's 282 pages. I can tell you that the historical fiction part of it is accurate, and it's also a good read. And it's a story about hidden treasure. Brandon, does that tickle your fancy? That's been lost to time by his great. I think it's his 7th great grandfather was Sam Manick. And if you know anything about, the Porch Creek Indians and the men who came down here and married into them, he's one of the ones that we really know a lot about. But it's a good read, and I'd encourage everybody to check this book out as well. So did you know that George Foreman succumbed? Did you know that George Foreman died 76?
Yeah, I heard that. That was kind of sad. I didn't realize it was over 30 years ago when he won that championship belt. Time has really flown there.
No kidding. And anyway, on the sports front, I thought we would have our moment being Auburn graduates that we're actually, there's buzz about our school again. Auburn is the top team in the NCAA tournament, and so has it started? Were we good enough that we got to buy for a couple of days, or when's all that start up?
No, they don't do buys at the NCAA level. We did defeat Alabama State.
Okay, that's who it was.
Who was
Alabama
the 16th seed?
Yeah,
on Thursday. So that's sort of a buy. Creighton tonight is going to be a much harder opponent.
So, have you ever bet on basketball games? It's like you bet the...
Yeah, I don't do sports betting.
Okay, well, you bet a team, and it's by half a point. I mean, it's not like football where it's like Bama by 21, These college basketball, if you've ever bet on it, is like, Auburn plus 1.5 points or something, and you're just a fool if you betting your money on that stuff. Okay, so we're going to do something that I really don't want to do, but we kind of gotta. And so, Brandon, we talked about the Otis French video, and I guess I should do a little bit of explaining here. So it appears that no one leaked this video. This video was there was some discovery from the plaintiffs. Obviously, this young man's family is suing the city of Bay Minette, and in the discovery response that they made public on Pacer, it gave the Dropbox address and the password. Yeah. So somebody just went in and downloaded this and put it on YouTube, and it came out 2 weeks ago. I can tell you it's one of the more disturbing things that I've seen, and we're going to cue it up. Now, I thought it was interesting that it didn't start with him being pulled over and us saying that there's nothing functionally wrong with his car. And, this is a Saturday morning at 10:20 a.m.
Window doesn't roll down?
No.
You have a driver's license with you?
What's the issue?
Well, you didn't use your signal back there, and I see why now. Is you have a light out on that left side completely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No big deal. Ain't nothing I'm going to write your ticket on, but you're going to have to fix it, though. Where are you headed to?
Heading home.
Heading home?
Yeah.
Couldn't be any further from your business.
Still on Old Robinson Road?
Mm-hmm.
Who lives here?
I was just, you put me up.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. Well, look, I'm going to cut you a warning and get you on your way. Get that tail light fixed, okay? All right, I'll be right back.
Now, as we fast forward through this, I want you to understand something. He's back there running him in the car, and what he's seeing on the screen, and you're not going to see it here, but Mr. French has 3 prior contacts with the police that he would have seen, and they're all eluding the police, okay? So he knows that he's run from the police.
Turn your hazards on and step back here and look at this. Turn your hazards on and come back here. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
This should have never happened. He should have handed him the warning, and the interaction should have been over with right here. This part is completely unnecessary, and this comes from their training to try to find some reason to get a drug dog into this kid's car or otherwise harass him.
You got any weapons or anything on you? No, I'm good. Okay. Just for my protection, I'm going to pat you down real quick. You going to turn around? Turn around.
Turn around.
Now turn around. I want to pat you down.
I can take it to them.
No. I want to pat you down. If you got no guns, is all I'm worried about.
No, I'm just not comfortable with people touching me.
Well, I hate it for you, but yeah, my safety is paramount, okay?
Did you catch that, Brandon? My safety is paramount.
Yeah, if my safety is paramount, just give him the ticket and don't let him out of the car.
Right.
Don't tell him to get out of the car, and then I'm going to pat you down. And he says there's a bulge in his pocket. What's that? You and I and just about everybody who hasn't had a felony conviction legally has the right to have a weapon in their pocket. Most of the time, I have a handgun in my pocket. And
as do I.
If it doesn't come out of the pocket and I don't touch it, I don't see what business it is of the police or anybody else. We aren't making arrest because a taillight is out.
All right.
The officer, I don't think I don't think he did anything criminal here, but there are some errors made where he escalates this for no good reason.
Well, here we go.
Be still. Put your hands behind your back.
No, bro.
Put your hands behind your back.
No. I'm
fighting
not.
one. Fighting
I'm
one.
not.
Put your hands behind
I'm
your back.
not.
I'm finna
I'm
tase you.
I'm not.
about to tase you.
I'm not.
Listen to me.
I'm not.
You're finna get tased.
I'm not. Not.
We got his car. We know who he is.
We have his car.
Like,
I mean, we know who he is. If we let him run, we know he's going to come back to his mama's house or his house or his girlfriend's house. We probably already know all those locations. And hey, he ran away from the police. I have the vehicle. If I wait 5 minutes, there will be 4 other Bay Minette police officers on site, and we can deal with whatever threat this is. But we had to play TJ Hooker and chase the guy down.
And we're about to see the Wile E. Coyote moment. Ready? Where they run into each other at the corner of the house, which is how the taser gets into play.
Got one run towards Rainview. Stay down! Stay down! Stay down! God damn it! Put it down! I'm gonna kill. Turn on Range Rover. Shots fired. Shots fired. One down. 4-6 bayonet. Send me EMS. I got one shot. Yeah. He's right there. Leave him be. Just. Yeah. I'm all right.
Hey, stay inside. Stay inside.
Let's get him some help. Let's get him some help.
So Monday night, I went to the Bay Minette City Council meeting and attempted to address the Bay Minette City Council, and I'm going to read in its entirety exactly what I had planned to say because I wrote it down. And I was addressing the council at their meeting Monday night, and I stated, I don't know if you've watched the video of the death of Otis French Jr., but there was a comment made when the Bay Minette police officer told him that he was going to search him for weapons, and Mr. French stated he didn't like being touched. Officer Thompson's response was that his safety was paramount. I do not believe that the pursuit was necessary, nor was asking Mr. French to get out of the car after the warning was issued. The interaction should have been over with. It seems there's a policy here in the city of Bay Minette that if you do not do what the officer tells you when he tells you to do it, that your life is forfeit. The people responsible for setting policy are the city council and mayor. Get rid of this thug of a police chief and get out of the major crimes unit and other task force. If there's an officer involved shooting, you should immediately call the ABI and not the task force that your chief of police is the chairman of. Here's my testimony to the city council. In May of 2022, the Douglasville Men's Group rented the park in Douglasville for a May Day celebration. They were harassed by the Bay Minette police and run out of the park. In June of 2022, I was asked to come to speak to a group of concerned citizens regarding the police action on May Day. The person who invited me was a man named Otis French Sr. In September of that same year, his son, this video of the man that we just watched, was killed by a Bay Minette police officer. I hope that my state legislators will take note of this and vote against the governor's Back the Blue police immunity law. In that world, we would never have seen this video that I was led to believe was a good shoot. So as soon as I said thug police chief, the mayor informed me that it was the city council's policy that you could not say anything disparaging about a public official, and they ended the meeting with me standing at the podium. So that's the transparency. And of course, this is the same lying person, Mayor Bob Wills, who told the public that Otis is a friend of mine, right? The father of this young man that we just watched him get shot dead by Bay Minette police officer, Bob came out and said the family's seen the video and they're good with it.
To the city council meeting, who are not familiar with the truth, still want to make accusations.
Well, a heated council meeting tonight in Bay Minette as the city announced the findings of a months-long investigation into a deadly officer-involved shooting.
And breaking tonight, the Alabama AG's office saying the Bay Minette officer who shot and killed Otis French Jr. last August was justified in using deadly force.
And that's not sitting well with some in the community there. Fox 2 News' Ariel Mallory now joining us live from Bay Minette. And Ariel, you have some late-breaking news from French's family to share with us.
Yeah, I do, Byron and Lanice. According to French's sister, Tamara French, she says Bay Minette Mayor Bob Wills cannot speak for their family, saying that some of his comments made to me and at tonight's city council meeting were, quote, incorrect.
We are not at peace with this decision. We will never be at peace with this decision.
Clearly, you still don't understand the facts, but that's okay.
And of course, Mr. French corrected that when he filed the lawsuit about this time last year. So I don't know how Mr. Wills lies and keeps his licensure with the Alabama State Bar, but it's a damn lie, and Mr. French will tell you it's a damn lie.
Say that we told him to tell y'all to cease and desist because we was all right with it. I am a grown man. I don't need nobody to speak for me. Nobody. So yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry to hurt somebody. But I know what the Lord said. Vengeance is His.
And, you know, if not for the screw up of their attorney, we would have never seen this. And I can tell you the family's very upset that this, and I can just tell you from here on is the abuse of a corpse for the next 15 minutes. And it's and we're not going to watch it. It's the worst part of the video, is that they sit there and act like that they could possibly do something for someone that was shot center mass with either a 9mm or 40 Smith & Wesson. May have been a 45. I didn't get a good look at the gun, but I know that they either carry 40 Smith & Wessons or they carry 9mm in Bay Minette. I can also tell you that was a dum-dum. That was one of the older tasers, and it only fires once. So I don't know if he was being tased. He says he was. And, you know, just like everything else the police tell us, we have no reason not to believe them, do we, Brandon? But I can tell you they put handcuffs on him right here before they try to render medical assistance. So, anyway, it certainly got me to the city council meeting, and I hope you'll tell your legislators that you're not interested in these police officers getting immunity. As a matter of fact, every time they pull the trigger, there ought to be a damn committee convened to see what they've done. Well, anyway, that's all we have time for this week. I hope everybody has a good week, and we will see y'all next time.